Hi, everybody. So here we are, reading again from the Transforming Suffering into Wisdom, book I completed 5 years ago, but probably started 15 years ago. It's a book of simple pages. Really, most chapters are just a page long. And we're now at the third intention, which is the most powerful intention. It's called being fearless and forgiving in the midst of suffering. But the element that kind of around the architecture around which that intention takes place is something that I call the structure of suffering. And it's quite an amazing thing because you don't realize that, whenever you're messed up in some way, that you're in fact, that the structure going on inside of you is exactly the same. And when you recognize that, you realize, oh, wow, there's something I could do about it. So pretty amazing. It's something I've been teaching for much of my adult life, maybe 30, 35 years. And probably the thing that has been most effective and most helpful for people of all of the things that I've taught over these years. So Transforming Suffering into Wisdom, the title of this chapter is, in fact, The Structure of Suffering, and it goes from this first page on to the next page, which I'll share with you in a moment. So, the structure of suffering. The structure of suffering is quite simple. And each time we suffer, it's exactly the same. When you realize this, you wonder, why do we keep doing it? Think about the very last time you were really upset about something and see if this isn't true. There are three elements to a structure of suffering. First, there's a jumble of uncomfortable feelings. Sometimes it's one feeling, like anger. At other times, it's a mix of feelings all roiled together that might include sadness, fear, humiliation, despair, anxiety, and frustration, among others. So, first of all, jumble of uncomfortable feelings. Second, on top of our feelings, there is a series of thoughts, judgments, opinions, or stories about our suffering, about ourselves or others, that get hooked to our uncomfortable feelings. Some say they cause our feelings. So first, there's jumble of uncomfortable feelings. Second, there's these thoughts that get hooked. Three, finally, the linchpin that hooks our thoughts to our feelings is me, I, and mine. The stories, unconsciously or consciously, are inevitably about me or offend me and mine. There is a sense that these thoughts and feelings are an intimate, if troubled, part of our identity in each moment of suffering. So that's the basic outline. Now, on the second page of this chapter, there's a wonderful design that shows this. And it's this. It's thoughts as the upper hand, feelings down below, the jumble of feelings. And then the linchpin that holds them together is the self. There is a simple practice to end suffering. Simple to describe, at least, although much more difficult to do. I call it letting thoughts go, letting feelings be. We will explore the structure of suffering and its release in some depth throughout this section of the book. We're going to pull it apart in many different ways. If you just get it intuitively now in the first blush, well, that's quite wonderful. But don't worry, we'll have many stories. We'll look at what feelings really are. We'll look at a meditative practice to work with. We'll look at how to do it in kind of daily living experiences. It's extraordinary when you realize that every single time that you suffer, there's this structure. And if you can separate the thoughts from the feelings and let the thoughts go, and then just feel the feelings without blaming them, without judging them, without attaching to opinions, or without putting yourself into them, that the suffering goes away. And more often than not, it's transformed into something quite extraordinary that I call wisdom.